so much, the very distinguished coordinator and master of ceremony for this event. Thank you for your very generous introduction. The chairman of the Association of Hospital and Administrative Family, the ebullient, the meek, effective Dr. Kingsley Amibo, APC FAM, our very distinguished guest lecturers today, my brothers and my friend, Professor Wilson Eru and Professor Azuka Opara, and others who will come. I had Professor Folabi's name mentioned. I have those who come in the second session of this training program. Let me acknowledge members of the ESCO of HPN, all our fellows of the Pharmacy Society of Nigeria, the West African Postgraduate College, and fellows of the Nigerian Academy of Pharmacy, and all the very distinguished pharmaceutical scholars and scientists, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to be here this morning. I really want to thank God for making it possible, because when I was discussing with our chairman, I wasn't sure how I was going to, because I thought I was going to be on the road at this hour, but God worked it out that I got back here very late, about midnight or last night. So I'm able to participate from Lagos. I like to say that I am impressed. I have always been impressed with the work AHAPN leadership is doing. I've always been impressed with their methodology, their painstaking processes and procedure for addressing the mandate of AHAPN. I've been impressed because so very often you encounter people who act as if leadership was trade unionism. Leadership is not trade unionism. Leadership is ability to harness, ability to set visions, and ability to motivate accomplishment, ability to move us from where we are to where we wish to go, a more desirable future. And in the process, making all the sacrifices that will be required to achieve this. So very often we speak about the respect we are not getting, the recognition we are not getting from the healthcare team and healthcare system. Sometimes the competition we get from other people who are part of our trade, who play one role or the other in the discharge and the provision of pharmaceutical services to the public. Sometimes we wish that all the other players were dead and that we're the only ones that will be alive. All those are good and good way to think, but they are not the exact way to work. Everybody in the world who receive respect, who receive honor, not everybody, I'm talking about most people who get enduring respect. Of course, some people clamor for honor and reward and awards. Some pay for it, some bribe, some cajole, some even force and kill to get honor, reward, and recognition. But as we know, such forced honors and recognition do not last. They're not enduring. The enduring honor and respect and reward come from impact, from service, from doing. People respect you, honor you based on the way they feel that you impact their lives. You can't go preaching, respect me, honor me. It's usually doesn't work that way. If you have power at that time, people might kowtow and honor you for the moment. As you turn back, they do work out for you. because it's not earned. So we need to earn honor. We need to earn respect, especially for a legal profession like ours, very misunderstood profession because of the commercial content of our work. Most times the scientific and the real professional side are hidden or forgotten or mistaken. And the truth is that we, the professionals, are not helping the matter. 2 days ago, I was telling some pharmacists my experience in a pharmacy that I went to recently. I was having something that looked like cold or catarrh. And I know I'm a pharmacist, I can recommend things for myself, but I always like to yield a position to those in practice. So I went to this pharmacy and I said, can I see the pharmacist? Then somebody who was outside, I was entering and who was discussing with some people walked in and said, he's the pharmacist. I said, fine. So I said, I have some issues. He said, what's my issue? I said, I'm having a little bit of headache and I am feeling like I'm going to have cold. So after listening to me, he took a paper and wrote something and gave it to perhaps a sales assistant or a shop assistant. And the shop assistant gathered the drugs together, called me to a window, and told me the bill. I paid. He simply handed over the pack of drugs to me, already put in a pack, and just gave me. I was livid. So I called for the pharmacist again. He came back. I sat him down. I introduced myself. I said, can you differentiate between this your shop and a patent medicine shop? Tell me the difference. Is it because you have a label that says you're a pharmacy? So what is the difference? In fact, some patent medicine shop will have even done better because they will have shown me the mix. They will have mixed the medicine and told me, take this one, mix this one. But you didn't even talk to me after I demanded for your attention. After I called you and told you my problem, you passed it on to somebody else and he put the drugs together and he just gave it to me with no even counseling of how I'm going to take the medication. I said, what type of pharmacy are you running? Tomorrow you say patent medicine people are saying this, medical doctors are saying this, people are saying this. It's the way you're presenting the profession. He became sorry for himself. But how many people are we going to go to talk to, or police? So ladies and gentlemen, we need to do things to show who we are and to differentiate ourselves from other people who are not pharmacists. So that's why I feel very pleased for this excellent training program, because it is in line with actually understanding what we should be doing. It's in line with finding opportunities to create impact, create relevance, distinguish ourselves, separate ourselves from the motley crowd and those who want to push us out of the commercial side of the business. We're lucky we have commercial side, we have the scientific and professional side. So we believe that part of our reason is that many of us do not understand the value of research and publications in the growth of a profession. Most of the world has been shaped by thoughts that came from what people wrote and what people espoused. So if you want people to think about you in some way, start writing in that way, because they will read it, and after reading it over and over, they begin to form the perspective of who you would like them to form. So this is why I think research becomes very useful, because often research ends in writing or in publication. Because if you do a research, you need to communicate it. You need to document it for it to really be meaningful and usable. and every profession is expanding. Every discipline is evolving. We haven't reached the perfection. We haven't reached the end stage of anything in the world. Human beings are still growing. You see, most of the children we're having this day, they are taller than we used to be. They look more handsome. That is part of the perfection. The Bible says, when we see him, we shall be like him. We are just being perfected for that eventual day. So even our profession is not perfect. The knowledge we have is still half. They say we know in half. Now we know in half. And what we see, we shall know in full. So there's a perfection. There's a constant growing. It says search, seek. And if you don't search and seek, you will see what is evolving. And research is all about searching and seeking. So I am happy that you are trying to democratize what I call research. So it's not just a discipline for those who call academics. It's not something only lecturers and professors do because they want to write papers and get promotion. Research should be for every scientist to explore the frontiers of knowledge within the context of his practice. And I have not seen a greater group of people that have that opportunity as hospital and administrative pharmacists. Luckily, a few days ago, I had a meeting with the new editor-in-chief of the PSN, Dr. Ilo Mwanya, and we're speaking in this way, what she's doing and what we need to do to harness the millions and tons of data residing with our hospital and administrative pharmacies, which you can mine and use them to build new theses, to build new theories, to create new practice opportunities and new areas of investigation, to use it for advocacy. That was why the first committee I set up when I became PSM president is this Dr. Loloju's committee, documentation, research, and industrial liaison. I really knew that we could not do well without research, without documentation. That was the first committee I set up. So today, when we're doing advocacy, when we're doing things, we're able to have some documents, we're able to have some information that is backed by data, not just go and say like Nigeria, we're about 200 million people, we're about this, where nobody has the exact figure. We keep approximating and then under planning and under providing. So I want to salute you, Dr. Amibo, and your team for coming out with this program. And I want to salute the very distinguished professors you've chosen to kickstart. I believe that this is a worthy cause. And I want to congratulate all the pharmacists who already joined. Unfortunately, again, many pharmacists do not understand the value. Many people prefer to go to their businesses or shops or hospitals this morning than participate in this program. Some will see it as a waste of time. And tomorrow, they are saying, well, I don't know what is happening to our profession. They are, Naptron people are fighting us. Peter Medicine people are fighting us. They will fight us, but we have the resources to defend ourselves, to be steps ahead of them. They can do all the things, sell medicine, dispense medicine, but they can't do this research. They can't write papers. They can't publish papers. They can't become professors. And today, people must know that we can be affiliated to a university while we're working in the hospital, while we're working in the community, while we're working in industry. In those days, when we were in Ife, Dr. Adenika was working in industry, but he was affiliated to a university, he was teaching the university. And that could give him professorship while he was still working in industry. In some other climes, many of the people working in industry are professors. Nigeria, we just think that professors must begin and die in academia. How would they impact what they are researching if they can't take them to the industry? So these are the opportunities we have to make life better, even for the academics, to create job mobility, to move from industry to academia, academia to industry, and so forth and so on. That's why sometimes I see people putting hard and fast line between community pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, industrial pharmacy. I say there are no hard line. It's one profession, but we can migrate from one section and create greater focus. And in most cases, sometimes we need all the skills to deliver one service at a time. So I want to again thank you and ask that after this series of trainings, we must set some targets. We must put certain things that need to be done to be sure that what we learn, we implement them. Because very often people learn things, and if there's no pressure to use them, those things will disappear. So I'm recommending that at the end of this conference or the end of training sessions, we must set out certain areas of research that we must mandate our members to do and evaluate those research and make sure they are done. That is the way we can ensure that this effort yields maximum return on the investment. So once again, let me thank you for inviting me. And I pray that at the end of the day, this conducting practice-based research in hospital and administrative pharmacy will yield its results. And so I am happy and very privileged to declare this conference and these training sessions open. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Yes, the president deserves another round of applause. They said the words of our, thank you very much. They said the words of our elders are words of wisdom. The president has really talked to us this morning, and we have taken note of everything you have said. Mr. President, we know you have more for us, and we believe in you.
Thank you.
We have always believed that you are here to help pharmacists in Nigeria. We are sorry that the pharmacy you went to, the pharmacist didn't treat you like a pharmacist. We are very sorry. He's our colleague. We are very sorry, that, sir. And I'm really shocked that that pharmacist do not know you. We are also sorry. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for these wonderful words you just given us this morning. It's a breakfast tonic. I think at this time, I want to call on the National Secretary, Association of Hospital and Administrative Pharmacists of Nigeria, Dr. Hafiz Akande, to give the vote of thanks to our own president for finding time to join us this morning. Dr. Akande, please. Dr. Hafiz.
Pharmacy Francis Odige, for inviting me to appreciate their president, and I feel much more honored to do that. Mr. President, sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Let me say that very, very much. Hello?
Yeah, we're
hello, are you hearing me?
We are hearing you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I just want to remark very briefly before I go ahead with the assignment given to me, sir, that I am much more inspired by the kind of opening speech that you just gave us. And I pray that we have many more of your personalities heading the affairs of the PSN. Because what has been the agitation of some of us is that we have been looking for a time that we will harmonize our practice in terms of liberalizing the practice, where those people in the hospital or in the community or in the industry will have the opportunity of even practicing in the academia. Because we know that we have series of data that we are sitting on but are not utilized. You really touched my mind when you say that there should be an affiliate between the hospital and the academia, where we can write papers that will be recognized for publication. Thank you very much, sir. On that note, on behalf of the national chairman, Dr. Kingsley Chedu Amibo, the entire members of our national executive, and of course, the general members of the Association of Hospital and Administrative Pharmacists, I'd like to sincerely extend our gratitude and appreciation to you, sir, for coming on board to declare this workshop open. And I pray that the God Almighty will always protect you, will be your guide.
Amen.
And promises to see you through. I thank you very much, sir. So thank you. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you,
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Thank you, Dr. Afiz Akande, the National Secretary, Association of Hospital and Administrative Pharmacists of Nigeria, for that vote of thanks. Yeah, now the DD, the business proper. I'm going to invite the guest lecturer. But before I do that, I want to still remind all of us, all our colleagues, senior colleagues, to please mute your phones, and so that we can have very robust discussion. You can also close your video so that you don't have any obstruction. But if you know your video, you can put on your video and do not have any issues, fine. I want to say this session, the guest lecturer is going to speak for 1 hour, 30 minutes. Then we also have another 1 hour, 30 minutes for question and answer. The question and answer, if you have any question while the lecture is going on, you can send via the chat box. You can send your question via the chat box. That's one. And again, after the lecture, you can signify by raising up your hand using the icon so that you mute yourself and speak. Now, research, practice-based research in hospital administrative pharmacists. Why do we even need it in the hospital administrative sector? Why? We need to know. What are the processes of carrying out this research? We in the hospital administrative pharmacists and other colleagues in other areas of practice, we really want to know. Like the president said, it's not only in the academics that research is being carried out. Research helps to to expand the frontiers of knowledge in our area of practice. The president just said that. So all these challenges we will find out today. Who are those even involved in the hospital administrative pharmacies for this practice research? What are some of these gains or benefits that hospital pharmacists will get? Are there bottlenecks that is preventing the hospital administrative pharmacists from carrying out a good research? These and many more questions are hanging in our hearts that somebody, a very distinguished personality in pharmacy practice, will be throwing lights and telling us all that is entailed in conducting a very good research in the hospital and administrative pharmacists of Nigeria. I cannot give a detailed profile of this personality at this time. I will only give an abridged profile of him to save time. This man graduated in 1978 from the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. while he studied pharmacy. He has a Master of Science degree in pharmaceutical chemistry in 1980, a Master in Business Administration in 1992 at the Obafemi Awolowo University. He's also the first holder of a Doctor of Pharmacy in Pharmacognosy, awarded by the Obafemi Awolowo University in 1984. The man can really see a lot of trichomes. He was pronounced a professor of pharmacy administration in 2006, making him the first professor of pharmacy administration in West Africa. He was the foundation dean of the Faculty of Pharmacy, Niger Delta University, Amasona, between 2003 and 2004. He worked with other professors as consultant in the establishment of the Faculty of Pharmacy, Delta State University, Abraka. He is the first executive secretary of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria between 1991 and 1992. He was one time Secretary General of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists, that's 2013 to 2017, and Chairman, Faculty of Social and Administrative Pharmacy of Nigeria, of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacy. Sorry, I take that again. Is the Chairman, Faculty of Social and Administrative Pharmacy in the college. He said in the PCN committee for the drafting of pharmacy regulations. He is the foundation president of the Christian Pharmacists Fellowship of Nigeria. He has supervised many PhD students and several fellows of the college dissertation and some master degree students. He is a recipient of the Distinguished Service Award from the Odo State branch of Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria in 2011 and Pharmacist of Excellence Award of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, Ekiti branch. He has been honored with the Fellowship of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists in 1994, Fellow Nigerian Academy of Pharmacy in 2014, Fellow Institute of Management Consultant in 2018, and Fellow Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria 2019. He is married to only one wife and blessed with 4 children. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce our keynote, our guest lecturer today, Professor Wisin Oyekigo Eru. Professor, you're welcome. Prof.
So you can unmute himself. It's been enabled to unmute.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Prof.
Yes, thank you. I need to
you need to block one of the phones. You need to block one of the phones.
Yes.
One of the phones is interrupting.
Let me tell you. I will.
Yeah.
I will. The challenge I have now is that the one I need to block.
Okay. Which ones are? There's one with Professor Wisin.
No, that is the one. That is my computer.
Okay.
That is the one
Which
I
one
want
is
to
it?
use. I'm going to leave.
Okay. I think you only need to use an earpiece to block it, not withdrawing from the meeting, sir. Okay.
While we wait for Prof to sort out that, I think I will need to also remind all of us to mute our phones. And like I said before, there are 4 sessions in this research lecture. The first one is what we are having now. After this, the second lecture session will be taken from 2 o'clock. And we have another great scholar who will be taking that. Then next Saturday, 27th, we also have 2 sessions. And then, like I said, the moderators of this program is pharmacist Obikoya Oladele, Dr. Modupe Oyewole, Dr. Ibrahim Bello, and my humble self, Francis Odige. I think I also want to recognize the chairman, Association of Hospital Administrative Pharmacists, Lagos State Branch, Dr. Titi Onedo. Dr. Titi Onedo, you're welcome. Dr. Onedo. Okay, I want to also recognize all our distinguished pharmacists here present. I want to thank you for staying with us till now. Dr. Bello. Dr. Bello.
Yes, Dr. Francis, hello?
Has Prof resolved the issue now?
Let me check. Yes.
I'm trying to sort it out, please. I'm still trying to sort it out. Just give me a minute, please.
At this time, let me recognize the presence of Dr. Joseph Madu, the chairman, Clinical Pharmacists Association of Nigeria, CPAN. They have been doing fantastically well. I think yesterday they engaged one of our pharmacists in the diaspora. You're welcome, Pharmacist Madu.
Thank you very much. God bless us, all of us.
You're welcome.
Hello?
Prof, we are with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you good to go now, Prof?
I'm still trying to sort out a technical problem. Let me explain the problem I'm facing. My laptop that I want to use for the presentation is the one that I have disconnected. My handset, I disconnected because I just discovered there were issues with the audio, and I've been trying to fix it with the settings, but it's taking too long time. So I've connected now to my phone, which is the one I'm using right now, that has the audio, and also the video, but I cannot share my slides. And I would have liked to share the slides instead of having to wait like forever. If you would allow me, I will use my laptop to do the presentation that I may not be able to share. Yes.
Prof, can't you forward your presentation
It's good now.
to somebody else? Can't you forward it to the MC or to somebody to share it while you are
That's what I
speaking?
want. Let me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You may forward it to Dr. Bello, sir.
Yeah, God has, it looks like God has intervened.
Praise God.
You can hear me now. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Well,
Prof,
yeah.
we can hear you. Are you good to go now, Prof?
Oh, yes, I am.
Oh,
Thank you.
God. We thank God for this.
Good.
We thank God.
Bless the name of Most High.
Yes. Thank you, Prof.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy our national president, a great brother and friend, who has given the keynote address of this meeting. It is clear that he has spiritually peeped into my slides, though I have not shared them, and went into great detail to bring up a lot of substance from that. It's always a pleasure having to listen to you, sir.
Thank you, man.
You are just a source of inspiration and blessing to most of us. Yeah. And also, I want to appreciate the leadership of the association for the opportunity they've given to me. I recall in Sokoto, after the presentation that I made in the keynote address, it was, there were a lot of decisions that were taken. And I think that this is, like himself said, a fallout of the things that happened in Sokoto. I must say that about over 20 years ago, pharmacist Obiaga and myself, we started a process of having to encourage the implementation of UDDS across different institutions in the country. The reason, basically, what we wanted to achieve was that, sorry, I'm seeing some funny things here. Please, I want to share my own slides. Can you let me share my slide, please? Let me share my screen.
Yes, you have the permission,
Okay.
sir. Please go ahead.
All right. Now let me just go there. You have, sorry, these technical issues, they keep coming up. Let me know when you see, are you seeing my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Clear. Yes, sir.
You can see my screen. Oh,
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we actually started this process, and what we wanted to achieve, we felt that once we are able to implement UDDS in our hospitals, it will be an easy ride for pharmacists to go into the wards. And we started the process, but somewhere along the line, we had to have a change of strategy. And the reason for the change of strategy is because we now found that the number of pharmacists that were present in our health institute, in our hospitals particularly, were not adequate to be able to fully implement and sustain the unit dose dispensing system. But a few hospitals actually went in that direction. Today, we are now looking at conducting practice-based research in hospital and administrative pharmacy. This is one topic, one area that I believe that we should not just be speakers and hearers of the words, but we need to be doers of the words. I will expect at the end of these workshops, the one of today and the one that will be taking place the next Saturday, we should be able to have set up different health institutions, the hospital settings, will have been able to set up, consciously decide, and set up research committees in all the institutions. And also the institutions on their own should just appoint somebody amongst them as a research officer. Give him a name. It's only a question of time. The name you're giving to the person will just be accepted as the name of the person. Just designate somebody as a research officer and get the person to work. I'm happy that we have mentioned the issue of collaboration between academia and the Association of Hospital Administrative Pharmacists. We in academia, of course, we hardly want to go out of our comfort zones, but for happen, I would think that the data that we have mentioned, which is so much in the institutions, data in itself is of no value when it has not been converted into information. And it is only the collaboration with academia that can facilitate that process for the conversion of the massive data that is contained in the institutional setting to become information that cannot be utilized within the settings in which we operate. And I also feel too that we must consciously pursue this as we go on. We should ask ourselves a question. What are the activities of hospital and administrative pharmacists? They maintain drug treatment records, they order stock medications, they repackage medications, they dispense medications, they provide information about proper use of medicines, they collect and evaluate information about ADRs and interactions, they prepare medications in various dosage forms for dispensing, they educate and counsel patients about their drug therapies. They even prevent, identify, and resolve medication-related problems. They prepare and maintain formularies, be they hospital, and ultimately, of course, they will have a national formulary. They conduct drug use evaluations, or should conduct. They follow precautions that are universal. They prepare products that use aseptic techniques. They also ensure that hazardous agents are handled and disposed of properly. They fill medication orders, not just prescriptions. They routinely prepare 24-hour supplies of patient medications. They also stock nursing stations with medications and supplies. They deliver medications to patient rooms. Indeed, they're involved in drug procurement. They're also involved in personnel administration. We can go on and on and on. Each of these 20 items I have mentioned can just constitute the basis for a research activity to be initiated, each of these. And if we look at, as we go on in this interaction in these 2 days, I will encourage us, as we have our discussions, let us continually look back. Where am I coming from? If we are discussing a topic, visualize where you are coming from. We may be in our homes, comfort homes now, but we work in institutions. We should visualize those institutions where we are coming from and then see how we can apply some of these things in the context of such institutions. And where it is not practicable to apply it, let us not be reluctant to say so. Because if at the end of going through these 2 days of interaction, we still are not able to commence research activity in our institutions, in your particular institution, then it means that we have not been successful as far as this workshop is concerned. So what therefore is research? It's a systematic investigation, and it will lead to discovery of new facts. In fact, it will also add some findings to already existing body of information, and you can reach new conclusions. The dictionary defines it, the Concise Oxford Dictionary. It said research is a careful search or inquiry. So ask yourself a question. Have you been involved in a careful search on any matter? He said it's an endeavor to discover or collate old facts. One is to discover, the other could just be just collation. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Are we still together, please? Hello?
Yes, we are together, Prof.
Hello?
We are together, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you. From time to time, I'll be asking that question. Please just respond when I do.
It's okay,
So,
Prof.
endeavor to discover or collate, yeah, thank you, old facts by simple scientific study of a subject, not complex study. Is a research activity is a course of critical investigation. So summarily, you can say research is an inquiry. Research is a study. Research is an investigation. And involved in research, there is a physical component. There is a physical component of having to carry out studies. There is the intellectual component. There is the emotional component. There is also the social, the political, and spiritual component. Inspiration can drive us into what particular research effort we want to carry out. So all of these are involved in research. The physical, the intellectual, the emotional, the social, the political, the spiritual. Talking about political, you may not want to carry out a study. By the time you look at our works on a prescription, the analysis, and also prescription audit, and particularly the prescriptions that are carried out in two tertiary institutions, particularly the University College Hospital and then the National Hospital in Abuja. You will discover that there are things there we said about the errors, prescription errors that we find in prescriptions that are dispensed in some of these institutions. If a pharmacist now wants to conduct a research on prescription error, you can immediately imagine the resistance that the pharmacist is likely to face. So there's a political component. There must be the social component to enable us, even where you're going to be talking about ethical approval. But when you are in an institution and you find that in that institution, the ethical committee may just be made up of people, but the chairman of the committee may not be a pharmacist. And any research activity that is interpreted to mean will put us in a bad light. That activity is not likely to receive approval. So these are political issues that also come into the research effort that we should take cognizance of. Don't forget that in research, intellect guides all aspects of the activity. Real work is to think well and think deep in your encounter. You think well, you think deep. Two, when it has to do with research, two are better than one. Two are better than one. Two heads are better than one. And when therefore we are going to be involved in these research issues, let us not imagine that the best way to go is to go solo. No, that's not the way to go. The best way to go is to have a group that is working together. I like the words of the national president, the president of the PSN, talking about this forum that is now available, and we can interconnect. We can have the research committee of AHAPN having to design a study, and all the institutions across the country are now they now key into it. For example, or the use of a particular medication, and then you now see how it is utilized, it's prescribed, and in all the institutions across the country. That will give us a national data. It is not a one-man effort. It is also essential to be organized when you are carrying out research. First of all, in your mind. You don't start a research work without having to conceptualize it. So you must be able to think it through in your mind before you now begin the process. The work can be difficult, but it is your intellect, your capacity to be able to carry out the study that will determine whether it will be successful or not. There are essentially two types of research, two types. One of them we call basic research. And this is the aim of a basic research is simply to study. You just want to study. You want to advance knowledge with or without application to existing problems. You just want to find an answer to a question. You just want to know about an issue. Indeed, you are carrying out research for research's sake. This is what I call the curiosity-oriented research. It may not benefit anybody at the present, but who knows? It could benefit somebody tomorrow. Somebody won't ask a question. Of what use is a newborn baby? But like you know, even the president of a country was once a newborn baby that had no value. So basic research in itself can also be useful. You find the other thing is applied research. Applied research. And this is actually where we, in this our association of hospital administrative pharmacists, this is where we are going to be focusing more on. This focuses on solving particular and or existing problems. Particular and or existing problems. For example, we can use public opinion survey to predict issues. You know, that is very common in elections at different levels. You can use a survey to predict issues. And also in an issue, the prescription pattern of a particular medicine is taking a turn that is different from the expected pattern. What could be responsible? Is it based on science or is it based on other considerations? That to be an applied research. The essence is for you to solve a problem that is existing or may exist, and this is called mission-oriented research. You have a mission that you're pursuing. It's not just curiosity. And any research that is carried out will ultimately contribute to knowledge, And this could be through either improved evidence or new evidence, or in fact, it could be new methodology for carrying out the same process, or different analysis that is used to analyze the data that we have. All of this will result in contribution to knowledge. But when you've carried out a study and you are not able to make the outcome of the study available to the institution where the study has been carried out, it's no longer valuable. I remember many years ago, well, maybe late 90s, what I used to do then, the studies that I carried out, there were papers that I sent to NAFDAC. There were papers I sent to the Pharmacist Council. These are papers that I had the feeling that were relevant in those settings, so that they'll be able to go through them and then see what policies can come out of such papers. But today, it is much easier. The institutions themselves should just go out searching for published data, published articles that have relevance, unlike the researcher himself having to send documents to those establishments. But you are going to find that when we're talking about hospital and institutional-based research, the story will be a bit different. You, in your own particular hospital or institution, you've carried out a study. Take, for example, the use of the prescription of a drug. I give an example. Prescription of amlodipine. The prescription of amlodipine. And then the outcome of the use of amlodipine. That's the study that you have carried out in the pharmacy department. The outcome of such a study, if it's not brought to the attention of the institution, you will now find that the institution is not going to benefit from its use. That is why in the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists, we try to also encourage that with research works that are carried out in institutions, the students or the graduates of the college who carried out such studies should make the outcome of their study available to the institutions. When that is done, the institution itself will value the pharmacists that carried out that study and will value pharmacy ultimately. This is a process that we should use as an ongoing one. So why do we conduct research? Why should you conduct research in your own institution? Why should I conduct research? Because I need to publish or I will perish. That is the for us in academia, the slogan is you publish or perish. If you want to move up as a lecturer, then you must publish, because the number of papers you publish is going to count towards your becoming a professor, all other factors being equal. But for somebody in our association, you don't have to publish. It's not a publish or perish issue. But I think the way we are also going now with the consultancy, there is going to be now an increased demand on a consultant pharmacist to show relevance. And that relevance is going to be partly proven by way of publication. The next thing is curiosity. You just want to know. You just want to know what exactly is happening in a situation. You want to find an answer to a problem. That is all you are trying to do. And that also is research. Why would you conduct research? Like the president of the PSN was saying, it enables you to build an ideal world. The things that you are seeing, you are not satisfied. You want the situation to change, but you cannot change situations without appropriate information. And you will not have this information if you don't conduct research. So research is needed as part of the process, even of management on any subject. And you can do research because you want to solve a particular problem. It could be an institutional problem. It could be a pharmaceutical problem. Indeed, I tell you, it can even be a family problem. The essence is you want to be able to solve a problem. Talking about pharmacy practice research, therefore, what exactly is pharmacy practice research? This is a component of health services research that focuses on the assessment and evaluation of pharmacy practice. The assessment or evaluation of pharmacy practice. This could include evaluating pharmacists' roles in a variety of capacities as a dispenser of medicines, as a person that manages the drug supply system, as a manager of human resources. These are roles that you could carry out studies in order to be able to improve on the performance of the pharmacist. It could be systems research. It could even be patient-centered research. It could be a community-based research. which of course could encompass all manners of determinants of health and of the influence of all of this on patient outcomes and population health. So essentially, this we could take as pharmacy practice research. Research in pharmacy that touches on the practice of the profession. Many faces, many faces. Research is just like an elephant. It's just like an elephant. And a young man before an elephant. If you look at the size of a man and you look at the size of an elephant, if the man is blind and he touches any part of the elephant and you ask the person, describe an elephant, because he cannot see, it is the portion that he touches that will make him describe what the elephant looks like. So it could be rough, depending on where he's touching. It could be smooth. It could be anything. But the truth is that pharmacy practice research could come from, it could be in different dimensions, but has one primary goal. And the goal is to improve on the practice of pharmacy. If you're going to have to do research, you should ensure that the topic you are going to be working on is not a trivial topic. It's not a trivial topic. It should be something that is significant, because time is money. When you invest, this program we are having now, I tell you, cost all of us something. We have alternative use for our time. So there's an opportunity cost for this activity. I had to log off the Christian Pharmacists Fellowship Lagos chapter meeting this morning in order to now come onto this platform. So you must be sure the topic you want to carry out is something that will make an impact, either directly to the system where you operate or the profession of pharmacy. The research problem definition, it should be very clear. The context that you're going to use to carry out the study, there should be good documentation. I like those words that were mentioned earlier. Documentation. Of course, like we know, Opara with his pharmaceutical care has always been hammering on not documented, not done. And that, of course, is the main thing that should be guiding us as we pursue research in pharmacy practice in our institutions. Anything that is not documented is going to be assumed is not done. So we need proper documentation. There should be effective management of the research activity. We are going to look at all of this a bit more as we progress. And your interest and your capability or capacity for that research are also very important. And what is your area of professional development and competence? I remember many years ago when we were trying to promote UDDS, and in some of the workshops that I initiated in those days, I would keep telling our hospital pharmacists when they come, I said, look, when you get back, identify one of your pharmacists, talking to the senior, to the leaders in the various institutions. I said, identify one of your pharmacists. Just give that pharmacist a name. Call the pharmacist your UDDS pharmacist. The hospital, they don't have to recognize him yet. Pharmacist in charge of cardiovascular diseases. So cardiovascular diseases pharmacist. Pharmacist in charge of oncology. I say just define these units and give pharmacists responsibility to take over them. It is only a question of time. If in those times that we were always encouraging us to do it, I'm sure that with this consultancy now, all of those areas, those units will have been clearly defined. Not because we fought over them, but because these persons that are so designated will end up having to now make presentations in their seminars. And the person that is making the presentation is an oncology pharmacist.
And the people that come to listen to the pharmacist will say, who is an oncology pharmacist? Then you are seeing one already. It is a question of time. The institution will they will come to accept that. Even if they don't have it in their books, they'll begin to call the person oncology pharmacist. And the time will come, that name will stick and it will become part of the documents in that institution. And I think we need to act a bit faster. Don't give up. Don't give up. This slide is the slide that Professor Wanang, current AG of WPCP, used to use in those days. And I just stumbled into it. He said on Valentine's Day, normally the man will be pursuing the lady. But by the 14th of November, the lady will be going after the man because something has happened. I want to tell us too, that in the process of research, results will always arise. They will ultimately become the pregnancy if you don't give up. And the pregnancy will result in your recognition. And recognition will not be going after you, provided you don't give up. So let's just keep on this track that we are in. Thank God we now have a recognition of a consultant pharmacy cadre. And it's for us to be able to ensure that we do things that will make it come to stay and impact very positively the system in which we operate. So what do? If you want to prepare and plan your research, what are the different phases that we go through? I've talked about this. Literature review is one of them. Why do I want to carry out the study? You have to justify. What are the aims? What are the objectives? You also have ethical considerations. And then you must have a project management structure in place. Let's look at this. So the steps entails these 7. And in the course of this, this 2-day workshop, we are going to be covering these 7 steps. Ability to be able to identify the problem or identify the topic. Having identified it, you want to be able to review what has been done on that same topic. Particularly if you intend to publish the work as in a publication that will be peer reviewed, then you must be able to review extensively what has been done by others. Then you have to be able to determine the research objectives, your research objectives. And then what methods are you going to use to be able to collect data? It will be advisable before you start to now put together a research proposal. And by reason of that proposal also could be given out for the purpose of grant sponsorship or as a guide in terms of your carrying out the study. Then you conduct the research according to the proposal that you are packaged together. And when you are done with the research, you now write up the report and then disseminate the findings. These 7 steps are steps that we are going to be covering within these 2 days. And my own activity basically is more of an introduction to what we are doing. What do I want to do and why? That is what we mean by topic and the justification. What exactly do I want to do? Look at your setting where you are. Are there not challenges you are seeing in your setting that could be better addressed? We keep talking about there is shortage. Are we still together?
Yes, sir.
We are together, Prof.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We are together, Prof.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. What do I want to do and why? If you look at the setting where you're coming from, we argue that there's shortage of pharmacists in the hospital. I said, why do you say there's shortage of pharmacists? We are overworked. We are overworked. We get to the office and we are just dispensing, and in fact, we are overworked. Patients will be queuing up and we are overworked. If I'm the chief medical director of the facility, and you tell me you're overworked, I will sympathize with you. If we have excess fund, we may decide to give more manpower if we have excess fund. But if there is information to be able to document the fact that you are overworked, that will come from research. For example, how many prescriptions are filled per day on the average in your pharmacy? How many prescriptions are filled per hour in your pharmacy? How many pharmacists are available to fill those prescriptions within the time frame? How many minutes will they require for a prescription to be filled? If you have to counsel the patient, how many minutes will be required on the average to counsel a patient effectively? If you compute this, how many pharmacists are currently available? How many more pharmacists do we need in order to ensure we are able to provide the minimum service, minimum optimum service in that facility? These are things that we can generate data and then provide information that could guide decision making.
Yes, Mom.
What specifically do I want to measure? You have defined the topic. What specifically do I want to measure? That is the objective. So how do I measure these things I want to measure? You can only do that by data collection, and then you analyze your data. So what are the implications of what I have done? What are the implications? It is the implication. That is the discussion of the findings that you have. So what exactly has been achieved? That is the conclusion. So you set out to do something. That is the objective. Your conclusion is, I achieved it or did not achieve those things that I set out to achieve. That is conclusion. Clear. Dead on point. Who are the researchers I consulted? That will not be the references that you use for the study. So these are questions that will result in your knowing the topic, justifying it, providing objectives, collecting data, discussing the findings, making your conclusions, and then being able to write out, find the problem or the topic. What is the basis of selecting a topic? Look at your setting. What is the basis of selecting a topic? It could be by reason of your experience. You've been there now for maybe 20 years, maybe 25 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years. And in your pharmacy, perhaps you are the person in charge of ophthalmology clinic, the pharmacy attached to the ophthalmology clinic. And you find that the latanoprost that is being prescribed, which is supposed to be stored at a particular temperature, you find that the patients, it looks like this drug is not working the way it ought to work in terms of outcome by reason of the feedback you are receiving from the ophthalmologist. That could just be basis for topic selection. What is happening to the latanoprost that we are dispensing in this pharmacy? Is it that when we give the drug or the medicine to the patient does not keep it in the right environment, and then it degrades while the drug is being used within the month? These are questions. It could be on contemporary issues. It could even be past research that have been conducted. Somebody has carried out a study in Oka Teaching Hospital, and then somebody in UCH says, what they found in that teaching hospital in Oka, or maybe Zaria, or maybe Benin, and then for us in Ibadan, what is the situation in Ibadan? Is it any different from the findings in Zaria, from the findings in Oka, from the findings in Benin? They are all institutions. They are all tertiary healthcare institutions. But the populations are different. The populations are different. And could it be a population factor? What could be responsible? And you carry out the same study there. It is nothing new per se, but within your setting, it could generate information that could be very relevant as far as improvement of our school services in that institution is concerned. That is based on past research. It could also be based on suggestion from supervisors or from peers. I want to tell us that what I personally expect as one of the outcome of this two-day interaction is for any of the institutions, any of the teaching hospitals, or even secondary healthcare facility, any facility that you have about 20 pharmacists, for them to be able to now decide, look, this workshop that was carried out by our association, let us domesticate it. Let us scale it down, and let us do the same thing for our pharmacists within our institutions. We have 48 pharmacists on this platform at this time. That is a far cry from the number of hospital administrative pharmacies that we have in this country. Far cry. And there are persons who need to have this information. So if you are present here and you find that many of your colleagues are not present, you can decide to organize a workshop, which may not be 2 days. It could just be 2 hours. And all of the things we are going to be saying in 2 days, it can be packaged in such a manner that we do the same thing for your own group of pharmacists. That is the way that we can build the resource base that we need to be able to drive the process that we have started. It could be a suggestion as we are discussing. Some ideas will be coming to your mind. And those ideas you want, oh, yes, I'm going to pursue this, or I'm going to pursue that. That could be a basis for topic selection. But your topic must be realistic. It should be specific and narrow. You don't want to carry out a study on pharmaceutical services rendered in Johnson Tertiary Healthcare Institution. No, that is too broad. That is too broad. Not because it cannot be done, but it is better to take a bit at a time. Take a bit at a time, so that you'll be able to chew it properly. When you take the quantity of meat that you cannot fully chew, you find that you swallow it without adequate chewing, and it could constipate the system. Be specific and narrow. And you should also be able to get information on the topic you want to work on. Access information in terms of literature information on the topic. There is hardly any topic you may want to choose to work on today that somebody, somehow, somewhere have not worked on before. Oh, nothing is new under the sun. Nothing is new. It could come in different phases, but basically nothing is new. And your topic should also elicit interest, your own interest first. Your own interest. If you are not interested in the topic, you're not going to pursue it. So you should be interested in what you want to do. I remember when we started the very first training on UDDS we did in OAU, and we invited pharmacists. About almost 35 institutions were represented at that workshop here in OAU, and it was a great thing. Why? Because we were personally interested. Those that came also were so interested, and they went back and they began to implement. What we are doing, I repeat again, what we are doing today, if in our facilities we had not started doing research, we should initiate the process. If after this 2-day workshop, we still do not know what to do, it is not a sin. Get back to us and let us package something that you can apply in your own setting. The topic should also elicit ability. You should be able to cope with the intellectual requirements and the physical resources that will be needed in order to carry out the study. So the topic should be able to address these issues. You should review prior research in the work. What do we mean? Explore the research literature. Because you need to understand the topic. You need to understand the topic. You have an understanding of the topic, then you may not be able to know the way to go. Particularly, like I said, most of these things that we are working on, or we are ever going to work on, somebody somewhere has worked on it before. So, has the research problem been explored previously? That is a question. Has it been explored previously? And if it's a revision, do you need to revise the problem? Do you really need to replicate it? A study may have been carried out. Like I went to interview a candidate for professorship, and I drew the attention of the candidate to the studies that they carried out years ago, and told them, challenged him rather, that these works that you carried out a few years ago can be repeated now. Why? The circumstances have changed. The population is not exactly the same. So many factors, so many variables have changed. So you can actually repeat the same thing. And then let's compare and see the changes that have occurred over the period of time. As you are reviewing the prior research, it will also enable you to know how to design your study. Know how to design your study. You are trying to carry out a study and it has already been done elsewhere. You can adopt the method that was used by another researcher. It's just for you to acknowledge. Even the data you want to collect, what method are you going to use to collect the data? You don't have to invent anything new. You can modify what has been used. And then how do you discuss these findings? It is by seeing what others have done. That is when you know how to do what you are doing and do better than what others have done. It's better to build on the experiences of others. You don't have to experience the same thing. Build on the experiences of others. When you are standing on the shoulders of a giant, you can only be taller than a giant. It's a fool that you have an opportunity to stand on shoulders and you prefer to stand on the ground. You will be a dwarf. You can't outshine the person, but stand on the person's shoulder, then you outshine. That is also part of the literature. As you explore the literature, you are able to now see even loopholes that you'll be able to now plug as you carry out your own study. It will also help you with creating your research questions. You say, what kind of questions should I ask? What kind of questions should I ask? The study has been carried out before. What kind of questions were asked? So based on what kind of questions were asked in those studies, you can now say, okay, what kind of questions should I now ask? That is the way it goes. What to explore. If I'm trying to, are there sister facilities in that referred to as groundwork for the study you are carrying out? So it is always good to look at what has been done before you start doing your own, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If what you have done has been done already, and there is no need for you, you have nothing more to add to it. Don't repeat it. Don't repeat it. That becomes a waste of resources. So the literature, how do you go about searching the literature? It is always good if you are going to carry out a study. Take a book, a textbook. If it's an area that you are not very knowledgeable about, you can take a general reference. It could be a textbook. This is tertiary source of information. So for you to have an idea of what this topic is all about. And then from there, you go down to the secondary. Look at how I'm building it. I'm not saying you start from primary, go to secondary, go to tertiary. No, you start from tertiary. Tertiary sources of information, on the average, may not be very current. Because for a textbook to get published, from the time that the textbook is put together, is written up, to when it actually gets to the ultimate reader in the marketplace, it could take months, it could take a year or even two. Look at revising a textbook and all that, it could take time. So you may find that the tertiary source of information may not be very current. So, but it is useful in giving you an overall view of the topic you are trying to discuss. You want to share, you want to carry out some study in pharmaceutical care. What would you advise? Pick up the book by Professor of Pharmaceutical Care, Azuka. Pick up the book and then read generally. Read generally. That will now enable you to bring to focus the things you should be, areas you should be emphasizing. And then from there, now take an abstract, a survey of the data sources, Google, PubMed, Google Scholar, and then see how you can look at the abstract for a quick survey of abstract. You are still not looking at articles per se of the abstract. And then going through this abstract, you are able to see the works that are relevant. You know, there are some research topics. When you look at the topic in the publication, it will bring to mind some things. But when you look at the content of the publication itself, it may not be exactly what the topic may be slightly at variance with the actual content of the publication. So the abstract is what gives you a bird's eye view of the totality of the content of that publication. And it's important, very important, that we look through this abstract. It could be biological abstract or whatever abstract, pharmaceutical index abstract. And you look at this abstract, and then based on the abstract analysis, you can now say, oh, this article, I want to look at this article. Why? That article precisely deals with the topic you want to work on. And then you take that article, read it. That article you are now reading is a primary source of information. It's a primary source of information. And for credible research work, we expect that most of the articles you are going to be citing will be primary sources of information. Let me give you an example. You are a clinical pharmacist and you are part of the grand world round. As the round is on and you are there as a clinical pharmacist, and then there's a prescription of a drug, of a medicine, and this medicine that have been prescribed, you have read somewhere in one of the textbooks that the dosage for that medication, the dosage that was prescribed for this patient could be regarded as outrageous. And you as the clinical pharmacist and the team, you are now telling the consultant that based on what you read, that the prescription, the dose that was prescribed was actually in excess. And the prescriber, the consultant asks you, what is your source of information? And you now tell him a textbook. Of course, he will simply dismiss what you are saying. But if you are citing a journal article which have been subject to thorough peer review, of course, like you know, like we all now know that many things go into publications. The COVID situation has brought so many things to light, or the factors that go into publications. But let's assume everything is normal. Under normal circumstances, you'll find that the primary source of information will be regarded as more credible than a secondary or than a tertiary source of information. You must therefore learn how to use your search engines in order to get information. You know how to use your search engines. There are articles that you may find as you are going through your literature. You may find some articles, and these articles that you may find are articles you cannot actually access. Why? Because you have to pay, and you have not subscribed to them. For such articles, what to do? You can do an email to the author, because the average author wants people to read his work. That is why the work is published. Or wants people to read her work. That is why the work is published. So when somebody is asking for the article, the author is happy to be able to share the information with the person who is requesting for that article. You may also have read an article that has relevance to your topic, and you find that in the publication, the questionnaire that was used for data collection was not included. And in most of the times, it will not be included. There are journals where it will be required that questionnaire would have been deposited with the journal in their repository. In such cases, you could actually also request the author of that article to send you a copy of the questionnaire. And in some cases, you can actually decide to collaborate with such an author on the work you are carrying out. And that, of course, will be a win-win situation. But where you can, you can subscribe. We expect that all hospital pharmacies, institutional pharmacies in this country, we expect that all the pharmaceutical journals that are published locally, they don't have foreign currency content. All the pharmaceutical journals that are published locally, be they Nigerian Journal of Pharmacy, just name them, all of them. We should have them in our library, in our pharmacies. A library does not have to be a room. A library could just be a bookshelf in the pharmacy or in the HOD's office, where you have your reference books. You should also have reference journal articles. We also want to be able to see, particularly for articles that have been published in your own institution, for them to also be on display. It gives a lot of respect to pharmacy, and indeed credibility is gained through that. So there's a need for you to review the prior research that has been carried out on the topic you're interested in working on. The literature review should be general. Why? It gives you a background information on the topic. It gives you background information of the topic. The way it goes when you are trying to do a literature search can be likened to a situation where you want to be able to get, you want to uproot a tuber of yam that is contained in the heart of a thick forest. In the heart of a thick forest, you must recognize that if you are going to get to that yam plant in the heart of that thick forest, unless you are dropped from the air right to that point, you have to clear through the bushes before you can access it. You can take the work you are doing as equivalent to that plant in the heart of that forest. And the literature search you are doing is how to be able to navigate the forest to get to that plant that you are interested in. So it is first of all general, and then become specific, looking at the previous studies on the topic, whether they are local or whether they are foreign. And so your literature review will now be focused on the objectives of the study. By the time you are done with your literature search, it should be clear to you that every single objective that you have so indicated, every single objective has been addressed in your literature review. Because when you have collected your data and you are discussing your data, the data you've collected, which you have analyzed, which you are now discussing, which we refer to as implications of the study. When you are doing that, you are going to be discussing in the context of the literature. You discuss your findings in the context of the literature. It is when you discuss your findings in the context of the literature, that is exactly when you know to what extent your work has contributed to knowledge. So, review prior research, very important. Then, define the objectives of the study. Many times we talk about general objective. When we are taking the case studies, all of these are going to be well illustrated. I've also included in this presentation a few articles that I want you to go and check and then extract some of this information from those articles. But you have a general objective, you have a specific objective, but the objectives of the study should be very clear. They should be specific, and they have to be items that are measurable, not diffuse. That is why we use active sentences, such as to investigate. When you say to investigate, when you have carried out the study, will it be possible for us to see that it has been investigated? You said to describe. That means in the final, your write-up will be describing what you are saying. It should be assessing it. It should be evaluating it. It should be identifying it. So if you said to identify, and at the end of the day, we cannot identify what you said to be identified, then the work has not achieved its objective. So we use active verbs. The sentences that we use should be active sentences. Action, action. For example, people look at, these are various studies that some people have carried out in the past, but I want you to look at this. I want you to look at this. These are just some of the studies we carried out recently, which I will want you to appraise, to go through them one after the other, and then appraise them. The issue of perception of students, relationship marketing, community practice, and the one on the fourth article on the use of information and communication technology in the delivery of pharmaceutical services in Nigerian hospitals. That is a specific one on IEC and delivery of pharmaceutical care services. You can look at it. What was the aim of the study? Looking at it, were the objectives set out, were they achieved? Then the other one on community pharmacies, and then the issue of cost of hospitalization of non-adherent type 2 diabetes patients in a tertiary healthcare facility. I would just want you to take a look at some of these articles and then extract the components that we are discussing, the objective of the study. How were the objectives crafted? look at the introduction. Was where the literature review, did it build up to the objectives that are stated? In essence, is there a justification for the study? Any work that is not justified is not worth pursuing. There must be justification. It's not research for research's sake. It's not research for research's sake. It's research for a purpose. In whichever setting, it's research for a purpose. So there must be a justification. If it's just to provide a body of knowledge, great. If it's to be able to enhance practice, great. But there must be a justification of the study. So please, you will need to take a look at this at your convenience. And then, of course, Professor Okpara is going to be talking to us about the method, research methods, because the methods of data collection is important. It must be valid, it must be reliable, and should also agree with the objectives. And then he's going to be talking about data analysis, be it descriptive statistics or inferential statistics. Now, I talked about a research proposal. There'll be a need for us to be able to write up a research proposal, which is a detailed description of how the study will be conducted. We write proposals on different things. I recall that they were told when we carried out some workshops years ago on drug information services, and we encouraged the pharmacist participants in those days that when you get back to your facility, what we expect you to do is to be able to develop a proposal for the establishment of a drug information center in your facility. Establishment of a drug information center in your facility. But in having to establish a drug information center in your facility, you already would have conducted some preliminary studies, or you are doing some preliminary works that you'll be able to use to justify even what you are now presenting. There are proposals that you write up. Maybe you want to apply for a very big research grant to carry out the study. But if it's a very big research grant, the funding body or agency will not want to waste their money on an activity that have not been tried. So they want to see a pilot of the work. It is based on the pilot. Has this person demonstrated competence or capacity to be able to carry out this study on a small scale? If the answer is yes, and you now develop a proposal to scale it up, then of course you will attract attention. But if it's a thing that has not been tried at all, and you want big fund to do it, then it becomes more difficult. But whatever it is, by the time you are done with your literature review, if it was thoroughly done, then you should be able to put together a proposal for the work. That is why for the students of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists, of course, you know now that the program has been completely restructured from the 4 years to now the 5 years. We now have a primary component that's introduced, and so it's a 5-year program, 1 year primary, then 2, and we now have distinct specialization. What we do for the dissertation, because students present a dissertation, which of course is supposed to be equivalent to a dissertation that will be produced at the minimum master's degree level in terms of content and quality. That is where we are now at the college. So we expect that before you start your project, you will write up a proposal, and there's a template for the proposal writing, and that template you follow, and you will have reviewed the literature for you to now be able to articulate the topic, clearly articulate the topic, and also be able to spell out the objectives of the study and the method you are going to use to carry out the study. Why? You have done a detailed literature review. But on the average, a research proposal should have a title. There are organizations that will require you to have a maximum number of words in the title. Maximum number of words in the title. Where it is so specified, in any proposal where there is a request for people to submit a proposal or their interest, if you have such announcements or such advertisements, please, whatever it is that is specified is not for fun. Ensure that you stick to the specifications in terms of the requirements of the granting body. So there must be a title. Then you give a background and then the justification of the study itself. Then the objectives of the study. The method you are going to use for collecting data and analysis based on the literature review that you've done. And then the initial references that you use. It may not be very exhaustive. It may not be very exhaustive, but the initial references that you use, and then your work plan, month by month, what you are going to achieve month by month. This can also be regarded as milestones. You're traveling from Ife to Lagos. You're traveling from Kano to Zaria. There are milestones. By the time you get to the milestone, look, you have a Kano is 50 kilometers, Ibadan is 20 kilometers. The same way for a research proposal. This work plan should be specific enough to know what you are going to be achieving at a given point in time. It is in following that work plan that gives credence to the proposal that you have written, that it can be accomplished. What you want to do can be accomplished. It can be achieved. In 2 months, you are saying you would have done the literature review. By the 3rd month, you say you would have designed your questionnaire. By the 5th month, for example, you say, yes, administration of questionnaire or pre-testing or pilot study, and so on and so forth. So the work plan is so important. When you are able to think through the process in a research proposal, it gives a clear idea of the feasibility of that study. And it will also be expected that you will have put together your data collection instruments. For the kind of study that we are going to be doing mostly in our settings for hospital and administrative pharmacists, the kind of studies we are going to be carrying out, they mostly will require questionnaires. And if they require questionnaires, it will be expected that you would have thought through the process to be able to design a questionnaire you are going to use to collect data before you start the work. It's equivalent to somebody that is going to be doing an analysis. You want to do a forensic analysis of a drug. And you say you are going to carry out the study using HPLC. But meanwhile, you don't have an HPLC. It can't work. And you have not indicated how you are going to get the HPLC you are going to be using. So it cannot work. The HPLC, in the context of a laboratory experiment, is the questionnaire that you are designing for a survey. So that is a research proposal. You must be able to put it together. And what are the tips? If the proposal that you're putting together is to attract funds, I'll give you a practical example. When the COVID started, I sat down and I said, look, the way this thing is going, it is very likely soon we are going to be having point of care testing. This was at the initial stage of the COVID. I said, we surely are going to have point of care testing. And if we are going to have point of care testing, then for us here in Nigeria, yes, they do point of care testing now in hospitals, but community pharmacists must be well positioned for point of care testing for COVID-19. So we designed the study. for the readiness of community pharmacies for screening for COVID-19 and also vaccination, administration of COVID-19 vaccines. Then, of course, we never knew that it was going to be as fast as this in terms of having to develop the vaccine. And we carry out the study. Of course, in this, I'm sure the next edition of the Nigerian Journal of Pharmacy, the outcome of this work will be published in that edition. Now, I was talking about developing a proposal. So when the thought came, I asked myself a question. I needed a student to be part of this. That will also be able to enhance the capacity of the students. So I chose a master's degree student who was not working in that area, but is a pharmacist who I believe could be useful. And then I now asked myself the question, how can I get community pharmacists to get involved in this? So I interacted with the chairman of ACPN, and he bought into the idea. So all of us together developed a proposal. And ACPN, the little grant, they were able to inject some little money, which we use to be able to complete the work and also utilize to be able to get it published. If that was an idea of a person that was now packaged in order to attract funding, but there are organizations that announce the request for proposals or request for call of interest, expression of interest. When those advertisements, when we see them, let's go through them and then develop a proposal to suit the requirements of those granting bodies. So you ask yourself a question: where do you want to submit the proposal? That will determine the content. I've talked about all the other issues of literature review and whatever, but where you want to submit the proposal is very important. They may have a style. Similarly, you are going to see, where do you want to publish your article? You have to know the requirements. If you want to publish in Nigerian Journal of Pharmacy, it's not exactly the same requirement as if you want to publish in a Tropical Journal of Pharmaceutical Research, something like that in Benin. It's not exactly the same requirement. If you want to publish in a pharmacy practice, it's not the same requirement as publishing in pharmacy education. So you must be able to know, where do you want to submit a proposal? Was there a call for proposal? If the answer is yes, was there any specification as to the area of coverage? If the answer is yes, is the area of coverage specified in the call of expression of interest or call for proposal? Is the area of coverage, does it tally with your own area of interest? Very important. Is it a periodic call or is it a one-time off call? If it's periodic, perhaps on an annual basis, they will normally advertise for people to put in proposals because they have a ready grant that they want to administer. So you keep timing it. If you do not succeed in the first one, you don't succeed in the second one, you just keep on, like the young man that was running after the lady. You just keep on until God knows, by God intervening, you may just succeed. You may just succeed and have a grant, and that will wipe off the tears and the sweat that you may have had in terms of having to put together the proposal. It is also advisable when you are trying to do some of these things, you're trying to do a proposal to an organization, and it's an existing organization. Take, for example, you want to write a proposal for a fund for WHO through the TDR. And it's not a new body. They have been in this process, and there's a compilation of the previous grants that have been given, awarded. So go and access the base, go through the content, and then see what could the funding agency, what could they be looking out for? Looking at all of these proposals that they've already awarded, what could be their points of interest? You can extract those things out. Have you attended any grant writing course? Now that everything could be, most of the things we can do online, it will be advisable, particularly if you want to be able to attract some grants. If the call is within your area of distinctive competence, that's also very important. Who are your potential collaborators? You can see I said we wanted to do a work on a community pharmacies, and I reasoned that we needed a community pharmacist who is visible to be able to assist us to get community pharmacists to participate. Similarly, we carried out another study, which is also under consideration for publication with our national chairman, pharmacist Dr. Omibo. We carried out a study. The process of publication is on now. And we wanted to be able to get hospital pharmacists to get involved. And we said, no, in putting together the proposal, I had to get across to him. Yes, because as you need a person in that area who could serve as a link. So you have collaborators, and each of the collaborators, however, must have an assigned duty. In any publication, you must be able to identify what the contribution of the authors really are. It is not just the person, every author must have played a particular role in the publication, and that should be very clear. So what will be the individual contributions of the collaborators? What will A contribute? What will B contribute? What assignment? Is it in terms of writing up the paper? Is it in terms of generating the questionnaire? Is it in terms of collecting the data? Is it in terms of analyzing the data? You need to be able to get all the contributors to know what to do. As I'm saying this, I expect you to be thinking around your setting where you're operating, and begin to visualize in your setting the kind of project that could be carried out. And also begin to visualize in your setting, you know, the strengths, you know, the weaknesses of the pharmacists in terms of their intellectual capacity and interests, as it were. And then get a topic and get these people. You have people also outside. Some of us that are going to be part of this process in these 2 days of workshop. Some of us, the 3 of us that are part of this, and many more people who are not part of this, whom you could also approach. So let us, I want to carry out a study on this. How do I go about it? Let us collaborate in this. Look, all research activities does not necessarily have to do with because you want to write up a work for a fellowship degree or certificate, or you want to do a work for a master's or a PhD. No, we now know that you can carry out a research to improve the system where you operate. And that will be directly, that directly impact on the image of the profession in that setting. And that is why this workshop is so important. Who will be the principal investigator? You can find that the initiator of a project may not necessarily be the principal investigator. The ideas were dropped in your heart, but you find you don't have the capacity. You know, I told us that research has a spiritual component. You just in a place, and then the Spirit of the Lord drops something in your heart, and that information has been dropped in your heart, which crystallizes into a research topic. You may not have the capacity to do it solo. You may not have the capacity to be the principal investigator, but you have somebody somewhere who you know can drive the process. Get in touch with the person. The important thing is that the work gets done. The work gets done. You cannot do anything alone. If you have to do it alone, you cannot achieve the same results as if more than you are involved in doing the work. So who will be the principal investigator? Identify the person. All of these issues are very important when you are packaging a proposal together. Take, for example, I just give you this.
Prof, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I'm interjecting you, sir. I think we have about 10 more minutes for you, sir. Please, sir.
Yes, no problem. No problem.
Thank you very much.
10 minutes.
Prof.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
fine.
you very much. Thank you.
So we have this is an advert, for example, for a proposal which you are going to see, and the deadline for the submission is indicated, and then you have the guidelines, and then how you package the application. This is an example. There's this other example, which you're also going to have to look at in terms of a funding opportunity, what the type of projects that the call is supporting. I'm just trying to illustrate the fact that what they call, every call for proposal has a focus, and ensure that you look at the focus and then determine whether you will want to apply or not apply. This is another one. Take, for example, for this, the OSIWA is seeking proposal on different issues, and they are so listed. If it is not one of these, then you don't have to bother to provide one. Dear colleagues, there are ethical issues that are involved when you're talking about research. And when you are writing up a proposal, you want to carry out a research in your institution, there's likely to be an ethical review committee in your institution. And for the ethics review committee in your institution, it's important that they must have a format for writing up proposal. And you put up the proposal based on all we have discussed so far, and then you now send it for approval. The ethical approval will require a study protocol or a proposal. When you have received ethical approval to carry out the study, there is also a management approval that you have an ethical approval to carry out the study in an institution. The management of that institution must also give approval for you to carry out the study. These are ethical issues. And then the last leg is the participants. You need the informed consent of the participants for them to be able to fill your questionnaires and the related issues. And then our referencing. This is another component that is very important. The referencing style that you are going to use in packaging your proposal or packaging your write-up. There are three basic types now, which are commonly used. The Harvard, which is the author date style, and then you have the APA referencing style, which is author date 2, but with a slight modification. And then you have the Vancouver system, which is called the author number system. I'm not going to bog you down with referencing styles. What I want you to know is that different organizations will require different styles. For the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacists, what we use is the Harvard. And so I gave you a lot of information. All of this that you are seeing are just aspects of the same Harvard style. So these are have to do with the Harvard style. This is how you write up your references under the Harvard style. As you get the write-up, you can go through this and that will be it. So basically, all I have tried to put us through in the last couple of minutes. Number one, I wanted to be able to stimulate your interest in being the catalyst for carrying out research in your facility, if you are not already doing that. Number two, I wanted to be able to stimulate your interest to be able to look deeply into your setting and craft a research topic that you can possibly work on. Number three, I wanted to be able to stimulate your interest to know how to identify possible collaborators with whom you can carry out the study, recognizing that whatever study you are carrying out must be able to have an impact on the system. And once you do this, then you have done all. I want to thank you so much for your attention. But please note, takeaway. For my takeaway, we have 51 now on this platform. The 51 participants may not, of course, it includes the juggernauts and all that. But for direct members of the AHAPN, we expect that the association will follow through with this group work for persons who actually want to be involved in carrying out a study. Take any 2 or 3 topics and see why you are choosing them. What is the type of literature that you require? How do you go about it? Define your general objective, define your specific objective, evaluate each of the objectives, whether it is clear, specific, measurable, and how you now measure each of those objectives. I would want individuals to just have groups on your own. It could be group within your own facility where you now decide to get a topic and see how you can go about having to do the work. If we can do this, then I think we have been able to achieve the main objective for my own presentation this morning stroke afternoon. I thank you so much for your patience, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Professor Wilson Ero. We know how great your lectures can be. A good teacher, a good preacher, a good talker. I know if we leave you, you can talk all day and we'll all be there. You can see the group is still active. You said 51 counts, but as I can look at it, now we have 54. Yeah. So many more are coming in to come and listen to your lecture. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you very, very much. We have been educated and we have been enlightened and we have been entertained. I want to quickly thank our president who has been on this call since morning, and he has also followed this lecture. Your take-home tip just now is want to stimulate the interest of pharmacists in carrying out research work. You want to stimulate the interest of pharmacists in creating a good research topic, and possible stimulate possible collaborators. Thank you very much, Prof. So far you talked on the issues I raised when I was asking of in my earlier statements. We're talking of why do we need research? What are the processes? Who are those involved? What are the gains and benefits? And what are the likely bottlenecks? You have exhaustively discussed all this. You told us what is involved in research. And from what you said, to me, everything is involved. Because you said physical, intellectual, emotional, social, political, spiritual. What is remaining? Nothing. So everything is involved, bro. I want to thank you. You also said in your discourse that we should not forget that in research, intellect guides all aspects of research, which is true. And real work is to think well and think deep. And you also said it is necessary to organize our mind and the process in which we are going to carry out our research. You also talked about the types of research, basic and applied, and you told us that basic research just to know an answer to a problem, and you called it curiosity research. While the applied research is just to focus on solving a particular or existing problem, and you termed it mission-oriented research. Thank you very much. You did not stop there. Why do we conduct research? And I think that's the basis of, one of the bases of this webinar. One, you said due to job requirements, most especially in the academia. If you don't publish, you perish. And I know that in the academic, if you don't publish enough work, it might not take you to the next level. And you also talked about the curiosity. People want to know things. They want to know new things. But to me, sometimes in trying to know new things, you might never know it. Because some people will want to delve into some research areas that I don't know whether they can find an answer. For instance, somebody who want to dive, somebody who cannot swim, want to dive into the ocean and find out what are the components inside the sea. And I don't think that person can ever get an answer if you don't know how to swim and come out. And you also talk to build an ideal world, which is very true. Even if we're having uncertainties right now in this world, but at least research will help us to build an ideal world. And especially for hospital and administrative pharmacists to solve problems in our setting, medical or pharmaceutical. And Prof, you also talked about the pharmacy practice research. What is it all about? You told us the component of health service research. that focus on assessment and evaluation of pharmacy practice. And he also said is to evaluate pharmacists' role in a variety of practice in all our different area of practices. And he also said there are many phases involved. Yes, the faces could be rough, it could be smooth, it could be any color, it could be white or black. You also told us tips for good research. And you said the topic should not be trivial, which is very, very correct. Because if the topics we want to research on is not of importance, we just want to research on anything that will not give knowledge, I don't think it's necessary. So for a good research, the research topic should be very important and useful to knowledge. And we must also have a research problem definition that should be clear. And the context of the research is also needed. Good documentation. Like you said, rightly said, anything not documented is as good as not done. And also, for good research, you need effective management. And your research must match interests and capabilities and area of professional development. I know what you were talking about is to do a research in an area where somebody needs development. When you talked about oncology, somebody should research on oncology and develop him or herself on that area, or the unit dose dispense system, or other areas that one or two persons might have interest in. And you also give a very pictorial illustration how we can never give up, giving us that pictorial picture on the Valentine's Day. Very sweet, very nice. I don't want to say more on that, but we appreciate that picture. I know in research, you don't give up. And in anything, we should not give up. I understand, I remember when the issue of this recognition of consultancy cadre for pharmacists started, when Professor Azuka Okpara and others were pursuing it initially. It was like it will never see the light of the day. But thanks to our president and other good pharmacists who stood by us and they never gave up. They were resilient. They pursued a good cause. And today, there's a recognition of the consultancy pharmacist cadre in Nigeria because they never give up. And I want to salute the courage of all those pharmacists who were not resilient, who were always there in pursuing this cause for pharmacists. You talked about the phases of preparation and planning of research, and you illustrated and you gave us very good preparation phase. Talked about the planning phase, identifying the problem or topic, review of prior research, whereby you check the literature, and then you also ensure that in checking the literature should be general, should be specific, and should be focused. You also talked about the objective of studies, and the objectives, they could be general objective, specific objective, or study objective, which must be clear and must be specific and measurable. And you also talked about the research proposal. You gave a detailed way of writing the research proposal and its justification. Talked about the ethical issues, and on the ethical issue, you talked about obtaining ethical approval, management approval, and participant-informed consent. Finally, told us about referencing and said there are 3 types of referencing. And they are the Harvard APA referencing style and the Vancouver style. And for the West African Postgraduate College, the adopted method is the Harvard system. Prof, I want to sincerely thank you for this wonderful lecture. I have received many of your lectures, and this is not a different one. And I know that you have done justice to this. I know if we had given you more time, there are more information you are ready to pass to us. At this time, I want to sincerely thank you and wish you well, sir, for this great work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Colleagues, thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. Colleagues, it's time for question and answer. Like I said, you can drop your question on the chat box. I think there are a lot of questions right there now and a lot of comments. You can drop it. But still, if you don't want to drop or you want to ask directly to Prof, you can signify by raising up your hand so that Prof can answer you. But before the question, Prof, I hope this lecture will be sent to the AHAP National so that we can send it to other people who will need it, because I will need a copy of this, your lecture.
Yeah, I've actually sent it on WhatsApp to the research committee.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Thank you
Right
very
now,
much, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Yeah, there are some questions here. I don't know if I should read all or I'll be taking it one after the other and you'll be taking it for us. I don't know how you want it, Prof. Hello, Prof. Hello,
If you
Prof.
can group them, yeah. If you can group them, I can take them in groups. But if whichever way will just be fine. Depends on the time available. What time do we have? That would depend. That would determine the start.
We'll still have about an hour to go, Prof. Still have about an hour to go, Prof. Like the first question is asked by Obikoya Oladele. How do we overcome the political hurdle of the research component? How do we overcome the political hurdle of the research component? Is there any tool for critical appraisal of research article? Did you get that, Prof?
Yeah, very well.
Okay.
Very well, yes.
Okay, Prof.
Yeah, how do we overcome the political hurdle of research
component
of research component activity? Yeah.
Yes.
Now I mentioned that there could be this challenge, particularly of ethical approval, which we have encountered many times. And this has to do with the interprofessional rivalry, which keeps playing out on many fronts. One of the easiest ways to do it is to establish collaboration. Establish collaboration.
Okay.
Get a member of the other healthcare teams, particularly the team that will constitute the main hurdle in an activity like this, and get them involved in terms of conceptualization and also development of the proposal and implementation. I think that would be a way to go. The other thing is, which I will expect the leadership of this association to take very seriously. Just like we are looking at research now as one of the major ways through which we can improve on institutional pharmacy practice in this country, I think we need to be able to package a training on communication, that will also address very significantly the issue of teamwork, the issue of interprofessional collaborations, so that we as pharmacists will be able to better understand how to interact, particularly with our medical doctor colleagues in our settings. We have a lot of challenges when it has to do with that phase of interaction. That also will be because communication is a major issue when it has to do with overcoming these hurdles. If the person with whom you have not been having good interaction, I want the person to sign you out for a thing, I think that would be an uphill task. So communication they should look at. But basically, is bringing them in and also ensuring that any work we are carrying out, the essence of the study is not to discredit any professional group. Let it be so clear. You have carried out a study, and now we found like the studies we've been carrying out, which clearly shows that it shows that the number of prescription errors that we find in our institutions is increasing. My own interpretation to that is that we now need more pharmacists to be able to check the prescriptions that are being dispensed because the errors are increasing. And if the workload for the pharmacist is so high, when the prescriber missed it and then the sieve that they could use to sieve out such errors is also missed at that point because of pressure of work, then there could be a big challenge. So that is my own interpretation. And for somebody cannot say, oh no, it means that these people are incompetent. They can't do well and all that. Once you come from that angle, of course, they are no longer interested, and that could affect any other work that's been carried out in politically. And the tool for critical appraisal of research articles, yes, I think what I will send you a presentation on this so that evaluating a research article, and then you look at it, and then based on it, you'll be able to get the substance you need on that question. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's another question from Joshua Evaweri. How do those of us in the regulatory bodies get ethical approval for our research work? That is, people in the regulatory sector. How do they get ethical approval for their research work?
Yes, we have, just like we have an ethical review committee in the various institutions, the hospitals and all that, we also have ethical review committee at the government level. At the federal government, in fact, there's a National Health Ethical Review Committee. We also have at the state levels, in the ministries of health, you have ethical review committees. What you need to do, if you want to carry out a study, is to be able to approach these institutions. In fact, if you check the website of, I think it's National Ethical Review Committee, something like that, because they issue certificates for those people who participate in training in order for them to be certified if they want to carry out works like this. But for people who are in the regulatory agencies, just know that you can have ethical approval from ethical review committees in ministries. If you have a university that is close to you, you can submit a research proposal, ethical review to their ethical review committee, a proposal to the ethical review committee, following their guidelines, because each of these committees have guidelines. Once you follow the package the proposal according to the guidelines, you submit to them, and then you can get the clearance. So it's not only in the hospitals where you have ethical review committees. Then the universities, you also have in the ministries of health. Thank you.
Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. Another question here says, how do we overcome the problem of understaffing in hospital setting to allow for time to conduct a research? How do we overcome the problem of understaffing in hospital setting to allow for time to conduct a research?
Yes, I think the president of PSN, is he still there? Maybe it's out. I wanted to say that he would be a good person to answer that question, but I would address a bit of it. Understaffing means you don't have enough staff to do what you should ordinarily be doing. And what it will imply is that we have to be able to establish first, is there understaffing? Is there understaffing? If there is understaffing, then the institution will have to accept that there's understaffing. And in our annual budgetary provisions, there should be provision for this. If it is not captured, nothing can be done about it. The other bit that's important is that there has to be deliberate effort on the part of the pharmacist to create time to do what we are saying. And where there is collaboration between the AHAPN membership, hospital and administrative pharmacists, and academia, which are in a few settings, where you have that, it will become easier to carry out research in such institutions, because now you have additional hands participating in the research activity. If there is a staff that is also given the assignment of coordinating research activity in the facility, that would be another way to go, because it's now taken as the job of a person. If it is assigned as the job of a person, then that person will also be given adequate space to be able to accommodate that assignment that he has been given. I think, to me, this may be some of the ways to go. But if you are going to increase on staffing, there are institutional processes that are followed. There's issue of funding in terms of the positions that have been created. If you have existing positions that have not been filled, then there has to be justification by the head of pharmacy to be able to make for a refill of those positions. And where you do not have the positions already created, now we are creating positions. We should begin to create positions and get the institutions to accept those positions, like the ones, different units. Let's just have units, all manners of units everywhere, and then let these units be without even pharmacists attached to them, but the units are existing. And then later we'll now make put up arguments for why these units, which are now existing, created in our books in pharmacy, and then we extend for those in our minutes. When they get upstairs, they'll be able to know that looks like pharmacy have they have A, B, C, D, E units, and then now they are making a case why they need more pharmacists in A, B, C, D, E, because the units and what those units can do have been clearly articulated. Where we have that done, then staffing can increase. When staffing increases, then this can happen. Let me give you a practical example. University College Hospital. I think I don't know how many of us on this platform now that are from UCH. Many years ago, we were able to convince the institution to adopt UDDS. We were able to convince to adopt UDDS. And when we did that, what we had to do in presenting to management, I was the consultant on the project, brought in a pharmacist, Obiaga as well. When we were defending the project before the management of the teaching hospitals, I made it very clear the number of pharmacists. I think then I said we needed about 112 pharmacists or so to run the UDDS, and everybody exclaimed. Everybody exclaimed. But I gave reasons why it would be. Then they said it would be difficult. But that singular activity sensitized the system to the gross underfunding in that hospital. I must give kudos to pharmacist Ahime, Tony Ahime, who was the president of the, who was then a member of their board. And he made the case for why UDDA should be there. And they invited me. And ultimately, the number of pharmacists that were now in the system kept increasing because they needed to implement the UDDA. So the management, pharmacy management has a role to play. And when you have people in different sectors who can assist to facilitate your activities, to enable management to buy into what you want them to buy in, please reach out to them. Reach out to them. Thank you very much. I see Modupe, your hand is up. Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Whose hand is up that want to ask a
Modupe.
question, please? Pharmacist Modupe, please. Is your hand up? Yes. Oyawole.
Yeah.
Please. Your question, please. Pharmacist Modupe is also a moderator of this program.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mine, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Very
Okay,
well.
thank you. Mine is more of comments, and should I say, just to add to what Prof has told us today. First and foremost, Prof, thank you very much for the beautiful lecture. It's very inspiring, very encouraging, and it has really helped a lot. I've picked quite a lot for me. Okay, so quickly, I just wanted to add to what Prof has said by saying that in Lagos, for example, already have a research committee. And right now we are working on 4 research topics. We are doing that, and I'm the vice chairman of that research committee. In fact, another meeting is going on right now. And we're at various stages for the 4 committees, for the 4 subcommittee members that are doing. And so it's just to tell us that it is really doable. We have reached analysis stage for some of the topics, and we already have other topics lined up for the, yeah. And I also wanted to say that in my institution, we also have training and research committee, and we're doing exactly this. And also to add that much as we always want to have staff, that's like adequate staff, there's no point in time where you have enough staff in the hospital, and we always have to demand for more. But doing this research and coming out with conclusions and results that add to whatever is going on in the hospital and writing to the management, I think it will go a long way also in justifying the need for employment of more staff. And another thing we can do is that when we have interns, instead of having so much interns and we're just, we can use them as source of data collectors too. We do that in my own institution too. They can also help in getting that, collecting data, and you can now go ahead and analyze. So we'll just have to, we can make do with what we have while we try to do something that can bring it, that can bring out what exactly we can do, and most importantly, how relevant our study can be to the hospital environment. And because, for example, I'm a member of the Health Research and Ethics Committee of my hospital, what I found out is that I just joined like 3 years ago. For a long time, they didn't have any pharmacists on board until somebody came from national and insisted that they must have a pharmacist, despite the fact that we have always been asking for it. So I was chosen as a member. What I noticed is that the other groups do a lot of research, more than we do. In fact, just recently, one of the members, all the profs are there, just jokingly said that, for pharmacists, we don't see research so much coming from you. And I think that is a challenge, definitely, which I think we can do. And that goes to tell the person that also acts that they in the administrative branch of the society, that where they can send, they can always send to even the institution around them. Like in my own institution, for example, if you're in Lagos, you can send to Lawsuit Ethics Research Committee, and then you let me know. I can always see if there is need for expedite action or to monitor it and then follow it up. I always try to do that. So this is just to encourage us all that these things are doable if we're set on it, and we'll be able to go a long way. Thank you very much once again, Prof. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pharmacist Modupe Oyawole. Prof, one more question.
Yeah.
What happens if the hospital management declines approval after an ethical approval? This is asked by Olamide Owagboyega. What happens if the hospital management declines approval after an ethical approval?
That is not very usual. I can say that cases where we don't expect that to happen at all will be a case where that particular institution has an ethics review committee, and that same institution gave approval for that study in that institution. That is not ever likely to be declined. There is the other case where a person is carrying out a study that cuts across maybe 3 different institutions and has an ethical approval from maybe a state institution. And having gotten the ethical approval, for example, the Lagos State government or Lagos Lawsuit Ethics Review Committee, for example, you've gotten an approval from there. And the study you are carrying out is also a study that's supposed to be carried out in OAUTHC. Ordinarily, OAUTHC should not be requiring you to do an ethical approval, request for ethical approval, particularly if the Lawsuit Ethics Review Committee is recognized by the National Ethics Review Committee, and consequently they are certified for that purpose. You don't have to replicate it. If you have a case where it has been given already at the national level for a national survey, like we've done 2 different times, for a national study survey, you can get to the institution and the management will say, yes, this we know you have ethical approval, but I'm not sure that you want to allow this study to be carried out in my own facility. On that one, I'm not sure that there's anything that can be done except having to find ways of reaching out to management for them to have a change of position. But any ethics review committee and ethical approval in an institution where the facility, where the study is going to be carried out is not likely to be disapproved. That's okay. The only
Thank you very much, Prof.
Where it is, yes, that's the only thing I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Let me give this opportunity to
Chairman wants to say something.
The chairman, national chairman, Association of Hospital Administrative Pharmacists of Nigeria, Dr. Kingsley Amibo.
Yes, thank you so much. My very good friend and brother, Dr. DJ Francis. I must appreciate the good, in fact, the fantastic job you have been doing since morning. In trying to make sure that this workshop has, flowed according to our plans. I appreciate it so much. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
I want to state from the bottom of my heart that I'm a very happy person right now. So talking, my joy knows no bounds, and I'm fulfilled inside of me. I feel so happy, so elated that the objectives we set out to achieve, from just the first lecture alone, we have achieved a good number of them. And even if we don't continue from here, I want to say that we've achieved a lot, and we really give thanks to God Almighty, for what we have done so far. The address by the president and this lecture. Prof, I'm very grateful to you for our invitation and for the knowledge you have imparted to us. I am one person that have been reached so far from your lectures. Well, I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but our expectation in terms of membership has not really been actualized. We have thought that, in fact, we made provision for 300 participants, but somehow we are just seeing less than 60 or 70. And somebody called my attention to the fact that if this lecture had held maybe on a weekday, that the attendance would have been probably better. So I don't know now going forward. I don't know probably the next lecture whether there might be need to readjust the plans a little bit so that probably you can accommodate the lecture. Maybe during the weekday. It seems as if pharmacists are not very. That is a party for maybe lectures at the weekend. I don't really know, but now that has come up as a request from our members, maybe we need to give it a consideration. Talking about moving the next set of lectures to the weekday. So probably we want to comment on that. That's number one. The second one, you talked about, somebody asked a question about ethics committee approval in our institutions. And I want to say that that challenge is real. I had a similar challenge when I was preparing for my fellowship project some some 8 years ago at the Federal Medical Center at the hospital where I practice. And the committee made it clear to me, this committee made it clear to me that I should not even attempt to commence the project work until I gotten clearance from the ethical committee or ethics committee, as the case may be. And I made all efforts possible to get that clearance. They did not give it to me. I had to now go to the Ministry of Health, the Data State Ministry of Health, to get the clearance for the committee, and then proceed to Central Hospital Agbo. Imagine me living in Asaba where I work to go to Agbo on a daily basis just to run that project on on adherence to arts. So it wasn't funny for me in terms of the inconvenience of going from Asaba to Agbo when I could have carried out the project that's right there in the fence Asaba. So the point I'm trying to make is that the challenge is there. Even though I mentioned part of the ways you can surmount that challenge, but I think it's not that we also need to see how we can, get a permanent solution once and for all, so that our upcoming researchers will not find it a challenge anymore. And then the third one is on somebody talked about shortage of pharmacists in hospitals, and I want to believe that one way we can overcome that challenge is continuous advocacy to in-house advocacy to our hospital management, to the board of management of the hospital. I know if I have to use reference as a case in point, but made case several times to the hospital management on the need to employ more pharmacists. We approach them. When I say we are talking about the pharmacy department in collaboration with the HAP FMC, and at the point we have to bring in the state HAP also. And we kept meeting the management, and I'm happy to report that the last time the center recruited not less than 14 pharmacists, additional to what we had before. And even at the level of the state, I know that the pharmacists in the state approached the governor recently, about a month or so ago, led by the patient chairman. And after the meeting with the governor, they approved 40 pharmacists for employment in at the state Ministry of Health, and that has been affected. So I want to say that continuous advocacy to the authorities is one way we can get them to recruit additional pharmacists for the various hospitals, whether at state government level or at the tertiary institution level. And finally, talking about group research, like Prof mentioned at the beginning of his lecture, I agree with you entirely. In fact, as Prof was delivering his lecture, I was challenged. I said, well, how can we get our research committee to key into what the Prof talks about group research? For instance, now we have the challenge of up to now, even with the constitutional pharmacy approval, but some hospitals down south do not allow pharmacists access to patients' bedside. Whereas some other institutions, particularly in the north, they don't have that challenge. Pharmacists have unfettered access to patients' bedside. Is there any way we can carry out research, group research, and then probably publish the results on challenges that pharmacists encounter trying to access patients' bedside? Probably those ones that have overcome that challenge can share, the experience with those that are having challenge, and then by the end of the day, almost all pharmacists benefit from such an experience as shared by those that are making impact. So I want to ask Prof, what can we do more? I mean, at the level of research committee, what can the research committee do to carry out this kind of research for the overall good of pharmacists in the country? Thank you so much, Prof. So there are about 4 points I've raised. Thank you, Prof.
What?
Prof,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Looks like, yeah, hello?
Yeah,
Prof, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
Prof, can you hear me, please? Prof, sir, can you hear me? Hello, Prof. Can we please unmute our phones?
Hello?
Prof, I can hear you, Prof. I can hear you.
Okay, it's like my network is fluctuating badly.
Okay. Because I wanted Dr. Joseph Madu to just ask the question so that you can just take the two. Since you're having issues with your network. How about that, Prof?
Hello?
Yes, Prof.
Hello?
We can hear you, Prof.
Okay, if you can hear me. Yes, on the day of the lecture, I think
Dr. Madu, can you mute your phone? Can you mute it first? Dr. Madu, just mute your.
to build a consensus. Ask the question
Dr.
on your
Madu, just mute. Mute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ask the question on the group WhatsApp page. Which day would be a better day for this program? Weekend or weekday? Get the feedback from that, because there are programs that people will prefer to attend, but if it's going to be in the week during the weekend, a Saturday, usually during the daytime of Saturday, people are going about ceremonies here and there. If it's later in the evening, whether it is weekday or weekend, usually later in the evening, people are more likely to be available to attend. But looking at hospital pharmacists, hospital and administrative pharmacists, looking at your work settings, I think that a program like this should ordinarily, for a stretch, not be more than 2 hours. You can have different sessions, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, not more than 2 hours at a go, so that more people will be able to participate. Taking 2 hours off work may not be too easy during the weekday, unless it's late in the evening. So you can consider that. But I would, Mr. Chairman, I would not want you to feel bad about the level of participation. What is more important in the participation is not the number of persons that are logged on, is the number of institutions that are represented in this workshop. Look at the number of institutions that are represented. Then the institutions that are represented, those are the ones that we should focus on for a start, and cause this activity to now begin to happen in those institutions that are represented. If we are able to get all the institutions represented on this platform now to work, I'm sure that it will spread with time. So I would, though we have a huge number of pharmacists relatively, of hospital administrative pharmacists relatively in the country, I do not think that a participation of 51 for a program of a Saturday morning, I'm not sure that it's really that bad. Just get with what's important is that we've started, and we have X number of institutions. Follow up with those institutions, get them to start. We use those ones now as case studies, and then we begin to post the outcome of what they are doing on your site, and people will begin to key in from time to time. That is my take on that. Group research, you've already spoken about that, but I want to say that in all of this, when I talked about communication, advocacy, not only at the national level, not only at the state level, advocacy at the institutional level is so important also in terms of, because we need the head of the institution to buy into what we are doing. We need to be able to get them to agree with us to some extent. If the CMD in the facility where you have CMD and you have a CMAC in the facility, if the CMD is difficult to reach, then let us find a way of getting across to the CMAC, who through the CMAC we cannot get across to the CMD. But whatever, let us know that what we want to achieve is to ensure that the institution, the pharmacy, finds favor with the leadership of the institution. We can go about that deliberately through a structured communication interaction without having to offer bribe and things like that. Assessing the bedside, patient bedside. I remember recall I said when I started that the UDDS, when we were introducing the UDDS, one of the things we wanted to actually achieve is that for pharmacists who will be following their medicines to the ward level will then find it easy to access the wards. And facilities where UDDS actually got implemented, pharmacists, whether pharmacists can enter the ward, nobody talks about that anymore in such facility, because the UDDS, implementation of the UDDS is an acceptance that the pharmacist has to be at the ward level to monitor the use of the medicines that are already present in the carts that are in the ward. How we can do it otherwise, if you do not have the UDDS, will only be through advocacy and a structured communication process, in my own opinion. I don't know whether there's any question I missed out because I was off and on because of the network. Is there anything I missed out? Hello?
Yes, I know. I just talked about the challenge we had there with the ethics committee in our center. That they've had to now resort back to the state.
Yes.
All right. Dr. Amigo,
Thank you.
you are satisfied?
It's a real problem. It's a real problem. Yeah.
Dr. Amigo,
but
are you okay now?
just like
Yes,
you
I'm
did
okay.
in your own case.
Okay. I think we want to give
Thank you,
opportunity
our chairman.
to our clinical pharmacy association Nigerian chairman, national chairman, Dr. Joseph Madu, to make his own remark or ask his question. Dr. Madu, please.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I believe I'm audible enough, please.
Very well.
Can you?
Very well. Very well.
All right. I want to congratulate Ahapun for this workshop. It is not the quantity of persons that attend it, but the quality of persons that attend this workshop that matters. And like our lecturer, Professor Erun, has said, those of us who are here can start, carrying the gospel to the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. Mine is a form of contribution, not a question. And because I know, though I'm not working in the hospitals, but then I know I'm an Ahapun member by the fact that many clinical pharmacists, in fact, they are mainly in the hospitals. And the clinical and the hospital pharmacists in particular, and community pharmacists are the face of pharmacy profession. If we get it right at the hospitals and at the community level, then this profession will no longer be complaining, because those are the ones that the public see. Those in industry, nobody sees them. Even in the academia, only the students know about them. But the hospital pharmacists and the community pharmacists are the face of the profession. And so it bothers me a lot. But then, like Prof said, he talked about collaboration, and that is the area I want to talk about now. Collaboration. Last night at a clinical pharmacist meeting, the same issue came up, and some of the things people were writing on their charts are that the Nigerian medical doctors, they are not even ready for collaboration. And I think that explains part of all these problems, all these complaints people are giving up and down. But then there is a way I look at it, and I have been seeing that work. I think the major problem is that we can collaborate very well with these people, but then we have not been able to inform them properly. We have failed in informing them. Like now, when we talk about pharmaceutical care, every pharmacist knows about pharmaceutical care. You talk about how many nurses and physicians know about pharmaceutical care. So the issue is that we keep on talking to ourselves about what we are capable of doing, and no outsider knows, even our family members that are in these other professions. Like Prof said, it's not at the national level or at the state level, but at the even your neighbor in your compound. If you live in a compound where there are neighbors, they need to know about your capabilities and what the profession is all about. Permit me to tell us a very short story. I belong to COVID-19 national COVID-19 think tank group. And in that group, it's a WhatsApp group. There are lots of many physicians at the top level in this country in that group. Hello, sorry, I hope you can still hear me.
We can hear you.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. So
Please, Joseph,
in that group, our former president, Pharmacist Akintayo, posted something one day about the use of community pharmacies for vaccination. And the physicians there immediately started opposing him. They immediately started opposing him. What do pharmacists know about injection administration? How can they, they started talking all sorts of things. And when I now saw those write-ups, I now interjected or intervened. And I now told them that like one of them said, it's good to talk objectively. I said, what do you know about pharmacy curriculum and training? It's what you know better about that you can now condemn or approve of. And then there are some videos we normally share in CPAN platforms. I share those videos because we believe that those videos are what happens, what pharmacists do outside Nigeria. And we believe that those videos lower antagonism. And I tell you, by the time I finish sharing those videos, one of the physicians thanked me for doing that and that it has enlightened them. And then a man came up and said he was the CMD, either CMD or deputy CMD of the same University College Hospital in 1989, and that he was the first to approve what is it called? Call duty allowance for pharmacists. And he was queried about it, but he defended it, and it was now approved. That man was a physician, a former chief medical director. And he even started blaming the other physicians for attacking pharmacists. So I believe these things are not because these people don't want us, but because many of them do not really understand what our profession is. And we have to do it like the churches. We have to keep on preaching to people, winning souls, winning minds for pharmacy profession. Right now, we have a group called Coalition for Health in Nigeria. And the national chairman of our Happen is a member of that group. And what we said there is that if you know anybody that is not anti-pharmacy, any physician that is not anti-pharmacy, you add him there. We add nurses, we add optometrists, and the rest of them. And we believe that by the time we have a forum where we tell others about our profession, what we are capable of doing, we believe that these people will now be ambassadors for pharmacy. They will be the ones speaking for us in the medical profession and nursing profession and breaking barriers. And again, there is something I want to say. I want to talk to us, especially the hospital pharmacists. I believe part of why physicians are always against us is because most of us feel that we are there to correct prescriptions. And this is not all we do. And let me tell us, anybody that corrects your English all the time or your prescription all the time, you won't want to see that person around, because each time you speak, he must find a fault there. So, but until you understand that that person has other things to work with you, so prescription correction should even be the last. Like Prof enumerated when he was talking, the pharmacists prevent, detect, categorize, and resolve actual the drug therapy problems. Some of these things may be part of prescribing and may not be part of it. So we should be well loaded. By God's grace, we are already moving forward, and pharmacy shall continue to move forward. Thank you very much once more for inviting me to your program. God bless.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Joseph Madu. That was a brilliant one. That's a good one. Thank you for that, your beautiful story. And thank you for Yes, for fighting for pharmacists and for being there defending pharmacists at all times. Well, this is past 1 now, and we are supposed to stop by 1. I think in the next 5 minutes, we should be through. We cannot end this lecture by not hearing from somebody or 2 persons. The person must say something so that we can all take. I think I want to call on Professor Azuka Okpara just to speak a word because he will talk later. Prof, sir. Professor Okpara on this call, please. Prof.
He's on the call, but not with his audio. So I don't know. All right, okay. Somebody can give him a call. He's on call, but not with his audio. Okay. So I cannot hear you now.
Okay. Is Dr. Lulu on call? Dr. Lulu Ojo, please.
Yes. He's on call, yeah.
Dr. Lulu Ojo. While we wait for Professor Okpara, Dr. Lulu Ojo can just talk to us. Okay. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Dear colleagues, I want to respect the protocol because of our time, but I want to salute you for what you have been doing today. I want to especially thank my dear teacher, Professor Ehu, for the brilliant presentation, and particularly the question and answer that followed, which actually reflected the understanding of the subject. Dr. Madu has said so many things which I already intend to inform you. But it is important for you to know that those of us who are not in the hospital with you, we know what you are going through. I've been in the hospital before. Most of the things that we rebel against at that time, they are still there. And you stay put, you persevere. And you did that not necessarily because there must be a work that you do to earn a living, but because of your love for the profession. This I must let you know that we actually appreciate so much. And you deserve truly more than what you are getting right now. But what is important is that what you have now is better than what it used to be, which means there's a good hope for the future. And you have chosen a very good topic, research, because when I was addressing the academic pharmacists last year, the point is without research, particularly basic research in local remedies, things that we can contribute to the world, the recognition that we are seeking for, we may not have it. Therefore, if we are thinking about research now, we are learning more about research now, I think it's a good thing for us. There are so many things that we can do. So many things that we can do. I was excited about Victoria Wallace's contribution, which means that right now things are being done about it. Professor Eno had told us that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So why don't we study what is being done in Lagos right now and try to replicate it in 2 or 3 other institutions more? Then we learn. Once we learn, then we can escalate into other places. Permit me to add. Let's even forget about the doctors now. Let's talk about within the profession. We are all aware of the kind of relationship that is going on now between NAHIB and NAPA. When we started it was like a joke, but it has now grown to something that I know will expand for future. I think we need that kind of relation. I think are happening to reach out to the industry and let that relationship not just be commercially driven, not just be commercially defined. Let's look at what value can come into it. Like this kind of program that you have done, if there is a synergy between an administrative pharmacist and a serialized program And I can tell you that it can really work. The president has told you self-help is very important. Nobody is good. They don't even like, somebody said, they don't even like you. So if you are waiting until they're going to help, the help may not come. But it is important for us to know that we need this self-help. And we are not without resources. Please, brothers with the academics, you can get them. Whatever it is that is going to cost us to bring them inside, let us do it. And Professor Eno told you, the hospital do not have to agree. As long as you are not doing anything against the, when you don't ask them for resources, they may not really stop you. Bring them in. This is what they do for a living, doing research and whatever. So they can come inside and be part of the research effort. And I believe that once we use this, we can get better. On this note, I want to thank all of you once again for the good thing that we do. Like I said to the young pharmacists that I addressed recently, the land is green. It is left for us to actually let people know who we are. Nobody is going to respect you because you say I'm Ojo and I'm a pharmacist. I have B farm, I have farm B, I have no. But people are going to respect you for your heart, for what you do. We are talking about Professor Ero now because of what he brought up. And the fact that we enjoy the rich content of what he discussed with us. And this is what each and every one of us must be doing. You certainly will not be alone. Once we can reach out, we can join our hand, things can get better. Without the hospital pharmacies, there will be no pharmacists. That's the truth. We need you to be in there. You are our representative in government. Whatever it is that we are doing outside, the hospital pharmacists must be supported. That's the truth. That is my conviction. And together, we can actually build pharmacy. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. God bless all of you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lolu Ojo, for that wonderful comment and statement. Thank you. I think Professor Okwara is on call now. Prof, sir. Prof?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. Are we not taking a break?
We will take a break. Just want to hear a word from you.
No, there's no point. I have a session, so let's...
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
All right. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues, fellows of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, the National Chairman, Association of Hospital Administrative Pharmacists of Nigeria, Dr. Kingsley Amibo, and all AHAB executive present, both in all branches. I want to thank all other pharmacists from all other technical groups here present. Let me especially thank our erudite scholar. I thought by now he should be getting tired, but he's getting stronger. Professor Ero, I want to thank you very much. We did not expect less from this your lecture. And we know that at any point in time, our association called you, you are ready and willing to deliver. On this note, I want to thank everybody. The next session of this research program will be coming up in an hour's time, let's say 45 minutes time. Thank you very much and have a great Saturday. God bless everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.